afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. M. Onyebuka, the Director of Budget and the Functioning Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Economic Planning. Incidentally, the Commissioner is not available because he's on a state assignment, and so I am standing in for him. Going through our presentation, we have our background, the problem definition, the overarching goals and objectives, the variables, the key challenges, the coordination and collaboration plan, the resource and implementation plan, the sustainability plan, and the expected outcome and impact. Under our background, I'll give a brief history of Delta State. Delta State was created in August 27, 1991, and it has Asaba as the capital city with a population of 5.8 million in 2017, a population that was projected from the 1991 National Population Census. Under the ethnic groups in Delta State, we have the Robo nationality, the Anioma nationality, the Shekiri nationality, the Isoko nationality, and the Jaw nationality. These are the major ethnic groups in Delta State. And Delta State has a land area of 18,050 square kilometers. And under the geography of Delta State, we have a land mass of 60% and water mass of 40% and a coastline of 163 kilometers. Our background continues. The major occupation in Delta State is farming, fishing, and trading. We also have natural resources. Oil and gas is the dominant natural resources in the state, though other minerals like kaolin, which we have in abundance in a place called Okunzu, is also there. We have our seaport. We have the Warri seaport, the Sapele seaport, and the Koko and Burutu seaports, which are under development. For commerce, we have, Delta State has about 268 markets and 19,445 small and medium enterprises, as well as 38,809 cooperative societies which are operating in the state. For agriculture, Delta is rich in vegetation and has good climate for farming. And that is why we are called the full basket of the nation. For banking, Delta State has about 22 banks with 167 branches presently operating in the state. For finance, in 1999, Delta State has a total revenue of 7 billion. But by our calculation in 2017, the revenue has been shot up to 224.7 billion. For education, we have currently 6 universities in the state, and it grew from 1 in 1999 to 6 in 2007. For the health sector, we have a number of health facilities, which in 2017 statistics, it stood at 1,411. Our background continues. Delta State has a GDP of 4.06 trillion naira in 2017, which is approximately $11.27 billion. For the agricultural sector, the agric sector contributes about 13.26% to the state GDP, while the industrial sector contributes, which is predominantly oil and gas, contributes about 59.22%. The service sector contributes 27.52% to our GDP. Now, talking about our past efforts at development plans, Delta State has previously designed and continue to implement a number of developmental plans, which are aimed at sustainable development and economic growth for the state. We have what we call SEEDS, the State Economic Empowerment and Development Strategy, which was developed some time ago. We also have the Vision 2020. We had, during the last administration before the current one, the 3-point agenda that was based on peace and security, infrastructural development and human capital development. We also have or had the Millennium Development Goals, the MDG. The state has also integrated the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals into its long-term plan. Currently, we have the MTEF, the MTSS, and the Physical Strategy paper. Currently, as at today, Delta has developed 4 rolling FSP, 2016 to 2018, 2017 to 2019, 2018 to 2020, and 2019 to 2021. That is our last FSP, based upon which the 2019 budget, which is presently in the House under consideration, was based. Now, our problem definition, constraints to effective development. In Delta State, like every other state in the Niger Delta, we have poor access to capital for investment because it is not usually enough. We also have weak capacity to tap available natural resources. Yes, we have plenty of oil and we have natural resources, like I mentioned, kaolin, but it has not been fully tapped. And in this area, as we go on, we will need support to be able to tap all these natural resources. In Delta State as well, we have poorly developed and low level of private sector investment in our SMEs. We have the problem of value chain problem in agricultural sector. We also have poor performance in internal revenue mop-up. Yes, we have been able to show up our internal revenue, but there are still leakages which we are making efforts to plug. We have equally infrastructural deficit. Yes, the state is growing, and it is a masterpiece, but yet we still have problems with our infrastructural development because we have not been able to develop as much as we wanted and as much as we ought to. We have youth unemployment and underemployment and youth restiveness. The Niger Delta is known for youth restiveness, and Delta State, as we all know, is the main theater. That is why in most cases we are only lucky now that we have been able to curtail it to an extent. Sometimes they will blow up the pipeline and production will no longer be there. And this affects our revenue. We equally have poor human capital index as a problem. And we have weak coordination, weak M&E practices. And we also have a problem with our statistical culture. We all know the fact that to gather statistics is not very easy. And there is a problem here. And so we will also need assistance in the area of our statistical development if they can assist us to develop our statistics and to be able to gather statistics from across the state for us to be able to plan. Because without adequate statistics, you will not be able to make any plan. Any plan that you are making that is not based on empirical figures, you will not be getting it right. Therefore, to confront these challenges that we have presented before, the present government has developed what we call the Delta State Medium-Term Development Plan from 2016 to 2019, and we are in the process of trying to review it. It's a 4-year development plan which sets out our roadmap for achieving the present administration's SMART agenda. In the last government, we had 3-point agenda. The current government has a SMART agenda, and the specific goals of the SMART agenda include the following. 1, to stimulate sustained, rapid, inclusive economic growth and development for the entire Delta State, and to create wealth and generate sustainable employment opportunities for our teeming youths. We talked about youth restiveness, so the current government is making efforts to ensure that our youths are gainfully employed so that they will no longer be restive and begin to blow up our pipelines. In addition to that, The SMART agenda is to create wealth and generate sustainable employment opportunities for the youth, which I have also mentioned. And the SMART agenda is to diversify the economy through development of the non-oil sector, so that we will not be fully dependent upon oil, and to foster communal peace and security among the entire Deltans. And above all, to create a conducive enabling environment to grow and attract new investment. And to protect the environment through urban renewal. And that is why the state governor, in his wisdom, created the Ministry of Urban Renewal in the state. And to enhance human capital development through education, through skill acquisition, and through workforce development. The variables. In the state today, there has been sufficient political will by successive administration to meticulously implement the various development plans. The implementation of the medium-term development plan by the present administration has also been on course since 2016 to date. The state has equally developed the fiscal strategy plan to ensure prudent planning and expenditure control. In addition to that, the state has, through different initiatives, shore up our internally generated revenue to reduce over-reliance on statutory allocation that is prone to frequent changes that can affect long-term planning. I said before that because of the youth restiveness, sometimes the oil pipelines are blown up. And so to avert this, the state has focused more effort now on generating internal revenue. And in doing this, they have been able to plug up all loopholes. And as we speak today, staff of the Board of Internal Revenue has been posted to every MDA to monitor revenue collection and to ensure that no revenue is lost. In Delta State too, there are structured aid facilitation and coordination mechanism in the state. We have the Overseas Development Assistance, the ODA department, under the Ministry of Economic Planning, and the State Portfolio Result Coordination Committee on AIDS coordination, which are in place and which are working to partner with development partners to bridge our funding gaps because we don't have enough. What we have from our internally generated revenue and the statutory allocation is not even enough to develop the state as we wanted it and as we ought it to be. We equally have structures in place to continue to engage all stakeholders for sustained peace. In the state today, we have the Advisory Council made up of senior elders in the state, and the purpose is to ensure that peace is maintained in every community in the state so that the state governor and the government can work and bring the dividends of democracy to the people. The state has a central M&E department in the Ministry of Economic Planning to ensure that development plans are implemented without political interference. But unfortunately, the M&E department is still grappling to take off because it's a new creation. The key challenges. We have the problem of policy continuity, especially as the election is around the corner. Very shortly, a new government may be voted in. God will help us, and we are praying that the current governor is re-elected. If peradventure something happens, the new government can abandon all the good policies that have been initiated and will begin to go back to square one. That we don't pray for, and it's a key challenge in our developmental efforts. We equally have inadequate funding, particularly in the state, particularly as the state government alone will not be able to provide all the resources for the implementation of our long-term plan because the revenue we have is not enough. We have weak institutions, we have political pressure, we have inadequate statistical data like I have mentioned. The Ministry of Economic Planning plans and coordinates annual budgets and other developmental activities of the state. And in the ministry, we have two planning departments, two central planning departments that work with the Department of Planning, Research and Statistics in the various MDAs to ensure that our developmental activities are in place. I have mentioned the State Advisory Council, which is helping to harmonize our relationship among different tiers of government to ensure peace. And currently too, the current governor has developed the attitude and the policy of town hall meetings. and engagement with CSO and NGOs and community leaders to collaborate the budget initiation process, because before any budget is made, he goes round to ensure that what the communities need are put into the budget by interacting with them, asking them, what do you want us to implement for you in our budget? Our resource and implementation plan. The long-term plan will be largely financed by the state government through internally generated revenue. We equally have the public-private partnership, which remains the funding option, which we are praying for, and the collaboration with development partners is also a funding option. In terms of planning implementation, legislative framework are required to give legal backing to the plan. Then the different MDAs will frontally drive implementation. And citizens' role in terms of monitoring projects and reporting observations, reporting community needs, and feeding back to government is also very, very important, and a process which we have begun to take very serious in the state. Our sustainability plan. The principle of all-inclusive participation and ownership will be a cardinal thrust of state government policies and plans. The plans will be designed within the context of sustainable economic growth, wealth and employment creation, peace and security, structure and institutional reforms will be enhanced within the state. The state will equally increase practice of funding plans and projects through IGR, which I have mentioned before, because we have been able to show up our IGR, although it is not enough to do all that we require. There will be maximum use of the private investment and public spending, which will be optimized, and there will be increased collaboration and cooperation with development partners and donors. Again, in the state, we have the transparency and accountability framework which is in place. For example, we have a PFM reform, which includes the budget reform. Our budget process has been reformed, and that is why I talked about the FSP, where we have developed 4-year rolling FSP that is ending in 2021. And we have the audit reform and the computerized biometric attendance payroll system, which is helping us to check our workers' expected outcome and impact. Under the job creation, the following is the Skill Training and Entrepreneurship Program, STEP, the Youth Agricultural Entrepreneurs Program, YAGEP, the Graduate Employment Enhancement Program, the GEP, and the Social Program on Skill Acquisition and Empowerment for Persons with Disability, because we also care for those who have disabilities. All of them will be scaled up to ensure that jobs are created. At a core working group that was held in October in 2018, Delta State was adjudged the best in human capital development. That notwithstanding, we still have gaps and challenges which we want our donor partners to assist us in putting through. Under the expected outcome and impacts, we have physical infrastructure and road development. The state, under the strategic plan, the state is to construct 5,000 kilometers of roads at the state by 2023. But so far, only 135 projects covering about 405 kilometers of roads and 159 kilometers of drainage channels have been completed. Then the state equally is also doing the ultra-modern secretariat building, which is about 40% completed. And we have completed the Stephen Keshi Stadium, which was completed this year with tartan tracks, digital scoreboards, new flood lighting technology, and which was used to host the African Athletics competition in August 2018, and the international friendly between the Super Eagles and the Uganda national team in November this year. And we want to remain #1 in the state in sports, in the nation in sports. And so the state has adopted the method of catching them young by introducing what we call the Principal's Corps, so that they go, each secondary school will compete, and those athletes, those footballers are caught young, and from there we'll be able to develop. And we have also what we call the AAA, the amateur athletic competition at the local government level, also to catch them young. But we need support in these areas. Expected outcome and impact also. The Capital Territory and the Warri Drainage project is nearing completion. We equally have also developed our education, and today, to date, over 3 billion naira have been spent on our infrastructure development in education. and full accreditation has been given to all programs in, we have 6 technical colleges, and they have been given full accreditation. With improved linkages and partnership, all the technical colleges now enjoy World Bank and C4 support. We have also made some impact in the health sector, where we have the universal health coverage of the state government, where we have presently enrolled 316,301 persons under the healthcare scheme. Then for the water project, we have the Wari Efuno Water Supply Scheme, which is a PPP model, and though it has not fully taken off, we need some sort of assistance in these areas to ensure that they are fully put in place. Under the agricultural program, we have the PPSP. We also are making input for the production to increase output and productivity of crops like livestock and fishery enterprises and farm mechanization. In Delta State today, Delta has been able to acquire land, has been able to sign an MOU with Noteworthy Investment, a private firm, for the cultivation of 3,000 acres of palm oil and installation of processing plant in Akukwigbo. It's a PPP arrangement. These are what we have achieved with the previous plans and interventions. We, however, hope that with the expected relationship with PINT, we will consolidate on these past gains, and that is why we are here today. And so in spite of all these developmental efforts and strategies highlighted, we believe as a state that viable partnership can be created between Delta State and PIN based upon mutual objectives. To do what? To reduce poverty, to improve the standard of living of our people, and to create good governance, achieving the sustainable development goals and prosperity for all Deltans in line with the present administration's SMART agenda. So the areas where we need collaboration with PINT include, among others, financing of key projects. We need funding for critical infrastructural projects like water, drainage, ICT, road, etc., etc. We also need support to scale up our implementation of the YAGEP, STEP, GEP, and PWD programs, that is the persons with disabilities. We need funding, we need the support of PINT to bridge the funding gap. And we need funding too to implement our Delta State Medium-Term Development Plan, because what we have is 2016 to 20, we have a 4-year development plan, and it is now due to 2019, it's now due for review. So if they can assist us and help us, we'll be able to review it and make it a longer plan, and it will help the state to grow. We also need support in the area of engagement, in the area of training, advocacy, and empowerment, especially in the oil-bearing areas of the state, in order to consolidate on the prevailing peace which we have already gained. Therefore, we are soliciting for the assistance of PINT and all other development partners to come to the aid of Delta State. In the agricultural sector, we need farmers need tractors and other farm implements to be drawn closer to them. And they need improved seedlings that will help in cultivation. PIN can help in implementing one crop, one senatorial district. For example, cassava or rice, as the case may be. And it will be a novel. And we also need technical support, technical help in improving our farming techniques. Under the social protection policy, we need the assistance of the donor agencies, including PIN, to provide support for sustainable livelihood, to enhance our employment through skills training, input for small farm holders, and youth and women empowerment. Also, assistance is also needed in expanding coverage of the state social health insurance scheme, with focus on the poor and those who are over 60 years old. Capacity building also is equally required in our relationship with our NGOs who are involved in our emotional support and counseling of victims of child labor, child rape, human trafficking, and HIV. And we also need assistance in the area of food and nutrition policy. PIN can assist to support the school, garden, farm, and provide a complementary feeding and stimulate interest in farming among children, and support to promote the nutrition and education of our people so that at the end of the day, we will have a better life to live. And so these are the areas where we need the support of PIN in Delta State. You can equally support us in our microcredit program, where we give lending loans to farmers and to entrepreneurs. If we are able to partner with you and you help us in these areas, the state Delta will be transformed and to be a better place for us all. Thank you and God bless you.